Do you and your partner want to learn simple ways to grow closer?
Do you and your partner want to grow happier together?
Do you and your partner want to be a unified front?
Do you and your partner want to divorce-proof your marriage?
If you answer yes to these questions, you need to check out our book, Unlocking Forever, 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage Beyond I Do.
Each section focuses on a different aspect of marriage and briefly describes how we handled it in our relationship. At the end of the section, you're given an action step or key to complete with your partner.
These keys are practical steps you can immediately implement in your relationship and help you and your partner be proactive and intentional about your relationship.
You can purchase your copy on Amazon.com.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all. After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We're just simply sharing y'all how we navigated through our marriage. Now, on with the show. Now, we continue with part 2 from our previous episode. Baby, we need to talk.
Huh?
Now, let's discuss it.
All right, so for our Let's Discuss It, we want to learn more about your after story. So you are now a father, you're an entrepreneur, and you are a personal chef. And that part I want to hear more about as well.
Yeah, we love to talk about food.
So you have 6-year-old twins. How has fatherhood been, especially in light of your situation? How has that journey been for you?
Yes.
So going back, so we do co-parenting, but going back, like I said, I remember when we first found out we were having twins. First thing she did was call her dad. I called my mom. It's a fun story with that. So we went to do the ultrasound, and I think it's like 180 is the normal beat, I believe, something like around there. And one was 180, one was 185.
Oh wow!
She kept moving it. And she said, "Oh, there's 2 sacks." So I was like, so my funny self, I said, "Oh, it's gonna be a big baby." She said, the nurse said, "No, there's 2 of them." I said, "What, 2? Yeah, you said 2 sacks, so 2. That means like double the weight, right? So like 10 pounds." He said, "No, no, 2 babies." Silly. I said 2 babies. I said, "What do you mean, like twins?" And then so she did like a zoom, like a 3D image, and she's like, "Yeah, this twins." And I remember me and her both looked at each other. We said, "Twins." She called her dad. I called my mom. I said, "Mama." She said, "What?" She said, "Well, you find out the gender?" So I said, "No, we having twins." And my mom said the same thing. She said, "Twins." Oh no, y'all having twins.
Oh,
and
wow.
So going to when they were born, so I ended up spending we went to the hospital at 9. So I went through the whole I wanted to go through the whole process, especially being my first children. So I stayed up in the hospital with her, ordered her some food. We were talking, conversing. She went through the whole dilations. I saw the epidural get put in. I saw the gynecologist check everything, all the way up until she was dilated at 9, and they rushed her back. I put the suit on, and I was, I cut the umbilical cords. So yeah, I wanted to do the whole. I went live on Facebook, not showing everything, but I went live once they were, out and in the little bucket. So yeah, I went through. So it's Jason and Kate, and other names.
Okay.
So Caden was born 9:48 p.m. that on the 15th November 2017, and then Jason came out 4 minutes later at 9:52. Funny story is during the pregnancy, Jason.
What day is November?
14.
November
15th. November 15th.
10 Scorpio. All right.
Yep. Double Scorpio. It's funny, my sister's a Scorpio too. She's the 18th, and then my niece actually has the same birthday as them.
Oh,
She's
wow.
12. So they share a birthday.
Before you get to what is okay, with your baby's mother, were y'all together during that time, or what was the I guess your relationship at that time?
So we're together through the pregnancy for the most part. We actually just to go, like we just didn't. We got along as each other, but just not relationships. So we both mutually agreed to co-parent prior to having, prior to completing the pregnancy. So we had already discussed everything and had everything mapped out. So like I said, we still we do joint custody. So I get them 7 days. And so I take them to school 7 days a week, or the 5 days out of the 7, and do the weekend, and then we do drop-offs on Sunday evenings, and then she'll have them 7 days, and then we rotate holidays as well.
That's fantastic, man. I'm glad you were able to work that thing out, because there's a lot of people in that situation that they fighting trying to figure that thing out, and they have to get the judge involved and all that stuff. I have a friend of mine who's we talking about you. Never mind.
Right, no. But I do one quick tip for viewers out there that are going through co-parent situation. One advice I can give you that I wish I had when I was having them 6 years ago is have grace for the significant other.
Yes.
There's especially just with kids, and then also you can't always take everybody's advice with kids. You have to do what's best for your situation, and sometimes you just wing it. Have your concerns, but don't think that something they're not doing that you read on Google being, a bad mom or a bad dad, or I put 3 scoops of, have your concerns obviously, but don't, get too like nitpicky with trying to be perfect. I think that was the best.
Right. We have to understand everybody is still learning.
Yep. Exactly.
Even the experts that put those things out on Google for people to search, they're still learning. So
exactly.
Right. Trial and error.
And so your journey into entrepreneurship, were you always interested in becoming a chef, or did that come later? How did you get to that point?
So I've always, I've actually been cooking since I was 6. So my grandma, my dad's mom, she taught me how to cook and bake. She used to make homemade bread, homemade pies. My mom loved to cook, so she taught me how to cook. And my dad did the grilling, so I did the grill with him, like on the summertime, 4th of July, hamburgers, hot dogs, steaks, ribs, stuff like that. Like I said, we were in Kentucky, so we did a lot of soul food. So I've just always had a creative mindset. I always knew I wanted to cook. I just didn't know like whether I wanted to do my own restaurant or the private chef. And so I did like a soft run when I was about 18 years old. So even before that, going through high school, I did culinary program through high school at Ben Davis High School. I had Chef Schifano, great chef. He actually cooked in Japan and other places. He's Italian, big Italian guy. Can't trust a skinny chef. That's why I'm, 6'1", 270. So you can't trust a skinny chef. But yeah, he's just very attentive in class. Learned a lot from him. Outside of that, I would sell I used to make simple peanut butter cookies and sell them at school. After high school, I did a lot of another tip for anybody out there trying to cook. I did a lot. I'm very visual and I retain information fast. So I would one advice for anybody trying to cook, I probably spent thousands of dollars on cookware and just different things. And I probably studied countless hours on, even as a kid, I used to watch all of Rachel Ray, Emerald, Paula Dean, Barefoot Contessa, Gordon Ramsay. So I studied those when I was 4 years old. I'd always watch those cooking shows. Grandparents' house, when they spend the night at grandma's house, we watch cooking shows together. She loved Rachel Ray and Emerald. And then after high school, going and trying to start the cooking career, I studied countless YouTube videos on recipes. And the biggest advice I can give somebody is just cook it. So I literally I would find something I love. I have to tell this story because I want to encourage somebody out there viewing. I call it the strawberry cake story. So I've always been good at cooking, but this is when I first started baking, and this is when I kind of put it two together. So I had a strawberry cake. I had an Aunt Flora. She's since passed away, but I had an Aunt Flora in Kentucky who made the best homemade strawberry cake. And I always remembered it. I used to had it when I was a kid. So when I was like, I want to say I was 18 years old when I first started baking, like actual baking cakes. I wanted to make a strawberry cake. So I'm very big on creativity. So I decided to put pink food coloring in the icing of a strawberry cake. Neon pink food coloring at that. So for those of you out there that don't know about, fondant and like cakes and dyes, certain dyes like your purples, blacks, pink, they have a really nasty medicine aftertaste. So I just wanted the best looking strawberry cake. So I really wanted a pink. So I put so much. This is my first time using food coloring, like in a dessert. So I probably put half the tube of dye in the icing because I just wanted it to be pretty and pink, to match strawberry. Growing up, parents are very honest when it comes to feedback because, I was trying to, I was being an aspiring chef. So I let my mom and stepdad, again, like just a backstory to my mom is successfully remarried, has a to my stepdad. They've been married 6+ years now. And I do have a sister, and that's where my niece and nephew come from. They have the same birthday. So I cut a piece of the cake. I was like, so what do y'all think? And they just look at me and say, nah, D. So I'm like, what's wrong with it? So I try a piece. I'm like, when you're a cook, you got to be confident, not cocky, but confident. So I'm like, man, what y'all talking about? I know how to cook cake. It was the worst. I took one bite. It was the worst cake I ever had in my life. One, I put too much flour on the bottom. I burnt the bottom of the cake, and then the icing tastes like Pepto-Bismol. So I was like, I should have just drunk some milk and magnesia and call it a day instead of making the cake. And so I always tell that story. Everybody, even people, coworkers at my regular daytime job, whenever they talk about cooking, they look at my food and say, "Oh, that looks good." I just tell them that story to encourage them. That's the strawberry cake story. But moving to
your cake at this point.
Right. But now, I make a really good homemade buttercream strawberry frosting with no dye. So I was able to perfect it. But I always tell people so I would take stuff like Texas Roadhouse. Like I found a homemade rolls recipe with the homemade cinnamon butter. And so I ended up bought a cheap little $30 stand mixer, and I just said, hey, I'm going to try it. And they came out really good. I was about 18 when I made those. I took them to work. Everybody loved them. So I would just encourage you just to cook. You're going to make mistakes. I done burnt pancakes before when I was 16. Like I said, the strawberry cake story. Sometimes you over season, sometimes you under season. The thing about cooking in my culinary career is just sometimes there's too much potential knowledge. Like, so with the studying recipes, studying how flavors go, you can do all the studying you want. You can study all the seasonings, all the techniques until you actually cook it and put it in the pan and taste it. You'll never know. There's, and you kind of try, the thing I love about cooking is the creativity of it.
Right.
You can, you take your simple seasons, like for food, you have your lemon pepper, salt, pepper, Lowry's. You got to have Lowry's in the house. You got to have your Lowry seasoned salt. You have your garlic powder, your different herbs. I would say just experiment with it. And then what I would used to do with like chicken and stuff, like I remember this by Tyson, it'd be like $7. I'd get the different chicken tenderloins that's already cut in strips. And I take 2 a piece, and I would try different seasoning on each of them and cook them all the same and then see which one I think to taste the best. Wow. And then I study a lot of Gordon Ramsay, Smoking and Grilling with AB on YouTube. They're good. Mr. Make It Happen on YouTube as well. Yeah, he's really good. He has the best oven rib recipe I've ever had. And obviously I tweak it. But as a chef, I like the creativity. So what I'll do, like last night, I actually made some Japanese udon with some homemade teriyaki chicken on a stick.
Uh-huh.
So I actually went to there's a new store. It's called Saraga in Indiana. It's just opened like 10 minutes from my house. They have one on the west side, but it's basically an international grocery store, and each aisle is separated by country. So 1 aisle is Japanese, 1 aisle is African Caribbean, 1 aisle is Caribbean, and they also have the regular American food like a regular Meijer or Kroger. They got the oxtail, they got the pork belly, they got a fresh seafood market. They got 4 different restaurants in there.
Oh, wow.
Korean corn dogs, Korean soups. They got the fresh fish. They got lobster swimming in the tank that you can get fresh. And so I just got the sake, the mirin, got all the seasonings and stuff that I needed, and made my own soup. And I would just say, just don't be afraid to freestyle. And if you mess up, then if you put too much salt, just know, okay, next time I'm going. And a lot of cooking mistakes people make with salt is some dishes you salt per person. So like mashed potatoes, I salt enough to my liking, and then if somebody wants to add more salt, they can. So a lot of dishes, especially like pastas and like chicken, like season it, thoroughly, but like some people might want more or less salt. So you want to just kind of freestyle and season to your liking.
You're right. I think that professionalism is 30% knowledge and 70% application. And you're never going to get good until you apply it.
Right. You got
right.
Like you said, you can study all the greats. You can study till your heart falls out, but until you actually apply what you know, that's how you're going to get good.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
And then also on that, I actually was in a marketing business. After that, for a couple years, met a lot of great people. I will say also, so right now I'm actually rebranding my cooking business, and I do a lot of private chefs. I actually have one for Valentine's Day. I'm gonna do some steak and lobster tail for a couple, and so and then I'm actually gonna start back in the pastry arts and learn how to make those fancy cakes you see on TV. So that'll be fun.
That is.
But my specialty is really is just the Italian food. But I just love Italian food, soul food.
Oh yes, I love food.
Yeah,
right.
And I love to cook when I don't have to cook. When I'm cooking because we have to eat, or when the kids were little and there was a convenience need there, that was one thing. But now I am back to where I can experiment with certain things, and I can go into the kitchen and try things and get in a zone and create something. And that creative outlet, like you said, it's a good thing. It's a good feeling when you have a way to get that out of your head, so to speak, and to make something. So I agree. I understand that. And our son, a lot like what you've said, when he was little, the first whooping I think that he ever got, probably the only one from his dad, he was so quiet in his room, and we went in there and he was watching one of the cooking shows, but he had gone and gotten eggs, real eggs, and put them in this little cookie tin, and he's just a bacon in his head.
And you're actually a year older than him.
Yeah,
he's 26,
and he's 6'1", and
love to cook.
He's healthy.
Love to cook.
Yeah, so
his thing is he overdoes the seasoning.
He can be season happy.
So he's seasoned heavy.
I think he's gotten better.
Yeah, I think
he's gotten better. But like you said, he experiments, he tries things, and he's open to trying things. Because sometimes he'll tell me he's going to try something, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want none of that. But he's open to trying things. So that's a good thing. That's a good outlet.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else?
Going back to your past, your upbringing, and I know that it has affected you in whatever way. But is there anything as far as being a parent? Is there some positives you learned from your dad? How's that helped you versus the negatives that you learned from your dad?
The positives, so Caden, he's like 4 minutes older. He does have asthma, so like I said, obviously I wanted, growing up, I almost named him, so they're Caden and JC, and I almost named them Kobe and Carmelo because I love basketball. Kobe's my, like I said, Kobe's my, he's better than Jordan. I don't care what nobody said. You can't tell me nothing otherwise with Kobe, but
we're not going to get another conversation for another day.
My sister grew up playing basketball, but my dad's love my dad wanted me and her to play basketball so bad. I remember, so for my sister's story, he wanted her to play so bad, she ended up falling out of love with basketball in high school and went to volleyball. And then for me, I remember my freshman year of high school, before this had all happened, telling my dad I didn't want to play basketball, I wanted to do football. And he actually never came to a game. I think he came to maybe one game and was like, you sure you want to do football? Never like met the coaches, never did like, how you do the parent, teacher, coach, like PTA, parents hand out food or tailgate. Never had like that situation. So I always said, if I had kids, I'd, so like Kate, even though he has asthma, he does like to do athletics, but he also loves to draw and color. Yeah. So one advice and tip I'd give to viewers is invest in your kids. So even though I'm a big sports guy and he does love sports. Like I said, if we're out back when he was young, when he used to have a little Tykes go, I let him dunk on it. But he loves to draw and he's the charismatic one. So he loves to act and he loves to draw. So I said I'd let him. I said so. He'll draw me something. He said, "Daddy, I made this for you." I said, "Well, are you Van Gogh?" He said, "What's that mean?" He's an artist. He said, "Yeah, I like to draw." Okay. And then Jason, he's the sports one, but he also likes to draw. And then Caden's very good with technology. He actually so he does have asthma. So like one time he had an accident in the hospital. He took my phone. He knows how to unlock my phone, download the games he wants, and then play the game.
You know what?
He'll go to the and then they do very well both on. They love to be, love to clean. They'll they'll dump the trash for you. If you're done with your play, they'll come grab the plate and say, "You want me to throw this away?" And so they do that. Awesome. They'll clean their room naturally. They'll just come get me and say, "My room's clean." They'll awesome. One time, actually this past weekend, he didn't get in trouble, but I had to tell him no, because he grabbed the spray bottle of the cleaner and was wiping down all the tables and spraying everything. So I just had to explain to him, that's chemical. Wow. Be careful. Well, he sprayed the wood with the other cleaner. I said, hey, that's not the right cleaner, but we'll talk about that later. Thanks for helping.
So are they close?
They are. They're fraternal, but they're like very like hip to the hip.
Okay.
Like if Caden's sick, they get sick at the same time. What's funny is Jason took all the food when they were in the womb. Uh-huh. So Caden was born premature, so he had to spend a month or so in NICU. Okay. But still to this day, Jason eats the most.
He was letting y'all.
And so, right, this past weekend they had sick with colds, and JC wasn't eating much, and they said my mom, they had to stay out of school. My mom kept him since she's off during the week, and she said, "Yep, he ain't feeling good because he ain't eating."
Yep,
he eat more than me sometimes. Like, wow, you ate all them chicken nuggets that fast?
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
And he loves chicken nuggets.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
and they do love to cook as well. So I actually this past weekend, what we made some steak. Yeah, I made a ribeye steak and potato, and I had them helping me.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, train them good.
You know what? You are doing what you're supposed to do, regardless of whether you and your mom is together or not. And you're being a man, and you're being way better of a man than your father was. So I commend you on that. Everything you've been through. Brother, you have a story.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing that with us, man.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And with our listeners.
And thank you for being patient with us. We had an hour and 45 minutes, and man, I've enjoyed this. And it's
Absolutely.
you're inspiration, brother. You know what I'm saying? You've got a story. You write a book at some point in time. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's coming. So, all right, I know I could talk all night, but I know that's not reality. So, how can people reach out to you to get in contact if they want to hear your story, or just
if those who are local,
what you're doing,
if they want to get chef services, what are your contact?
So for Instagram handle for the cooking business is D's Charismatic Cuisine at Diamond D Money 1996. For the podcast, it is Decree Dominion handle with Decree Dominion 24. I'm also on Spotify, but you can also reach me on Facebook at Darion Greatness Morris as well. And then email DarionMorris20@gmail.com for any services.
Right. And we'll be sure to include those links for everyone to make sure that anybody who wants to hear your story or reach out can do so.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Well, we thank you for your time, brother.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure being on the podcast.
All right.
We'll talk to you later. We will keep in touch. At this point, I want to travel and visit because I want to taste test.
Yeah.
I don't want your cake yet.
Yeah.
Right. What they say, somebody, one of the ladies the other day I was on the phone with her doing like a quick call, and she said, yeah, she live in New Jersey. She said, you gonna mail me one of them pies? She said, no, I'm being serious. I'll pay for the express shipping. She said, I needed one of them cakes and one of them pies.
If he listens to me and I get my way, we're going to be traveling. We're going to be traveling a little bit of everywhere before it's over.
Well, and that's the thing, like everybody, as far as travel wise, everybody wants to go to, the exotic places and all that stuff. And I get it. Something like I was telling her one time, I want to see the country. You know what I'm saying? I want to see, the States. So people like you give me a reason to say, man, I want to check Indiana out. Let's check Darion out. Let's see what he got going on. You know what I'm saying? So that's
especially when we're in the South, and sometimes I forget that the rest of the country is not like the South. And sometimes we probably need to get away from the South to breathe and to realize that everywhere people don't have the same thought process as in the South, because sometimes, wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always said I wanted to travel to Four Corners. So I've been to Florida plenty of times, but never been to New York, Cali, or Seattle. So I always said that me and my best friend said actually was going to go to Seattle this year.
That's what I go to. That's what I want to go to.
Just to do the Four Corners.
Do it. I'm telling you, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy anywhere, just being somewhere you've never been,
seeing the
sights, and seeing how. I just love people. I like to see how people move, and how they move in their day, and it's very interesting. Just going to different restaurants and tasting the food, tasting the culture, experience if they got a music scene. Oh man, I think Seattle has a great music scene. A lot of great bands have come out of there. So
yeah.
That's
on our list.
Man, we go a lot of times. We'll go places and I like to look up Black-owned stuff when we go somewhere, and we'll find like a Black-owned bar or something where they have music, and we'll miss
restaurants and
fabulous singers, man, just singing at a restaurant, like a bar, and it's like, man, these people are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually in Indy they actually have a Facebook group called Black Dollar Indy where they have all the us entrepreneurs, like it could be anything from tax services, barbershops, food, everything Black owned. Everybody posts on Wednesdays. They call it ad day. We all post like your services and nail techs, barbershops, lawyers, just everything, kind of like a Black Wall Street kind of thing.
That's beautiful. I've seen those for, there's one for Louisiana, for New Orleans. We go to New Orleans usually about once a year. And there's a group that I've sent that I'm a member of that they have Black-owned businesses in New Orleans, specifically restaurants, because that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I still gotta go there. I gotta go to New Orleans with my sister.
yeah.
Try that. I gotta try that. I done made jambalaya before, but I gotta try that gumbo and stuff. And then beignets.
Oh,
I gotta have them beignets.
Yes, you need to go to New Orleans. Oh my goodness, I love it. There's a restaurant called Neo's that we go to.
Yeah.
And
it's black
the food
is fantastic.
The amount of food on top of the way it tastes.
Yeah, I'll have my tubs.
You need to go. You need to plan your trip to New Orleans.
Yeah, go to New Orleans. Man.
Do your Four Corners and New Orleans.
Right, okay.
It is wonderful.
Yep.
You're going to New Orleans.
You go to New Orleans. Look, I've never been anywhere where I have felt more welcome than going there. Yep. And you would think because of all the tourism that the local people are like, it's people. Yep. But when we go, we are treated like family. Mm-hmm. He's a big Falcons fan, and he purposely
I wear my Falcons
gear,
and they'll rag on me a little bit, but it's all in fun. We get picked on.
The TSA agent, like we get picked on the whole time.
Y'all the NFC South.
Look,
yeah. They be like, man, you brave, you super brave to wear that.
I mean, they'll tell him, just go home.
Yep. I hope y'all trade for. I'm a Bears fan, so I hope y'all trade for Justin Fields.
Look,
man,
I hope y'all get.
We got to get somebody, man.
Right.
We got defense. It's that quarterback situation, man. We'll see though.
All right. Well, thank you. It was
thank you for
wonderful
your time, brother. Thank you for your time, man.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, you too, my brother. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.